Hello and welcome to Moneycontrol. Well, it was exactly on this day last year that India's big bull passed away. He was not only an iconic investor who made tons of wealth for himself, but also a role model for thousands of Indian investors. In his memory, we bring to you a special conversation with someone who has seen him up close and personal. I'm Mahalakshmi and I'm joined by Madhusudan Kela, a veteran investor himself, and who has had a very strong bond with him for many, many years. Thank you, Madhu, for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Mahalakshmi. Always pleasure interacting with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Madhu, first off, tell us about your journey with Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. It's a journey you've traversed for 25, 30 years, I believe. What did he mean to you, and what did you mean to him?
So, let me say that my life, professional life in the stock market can be divided into two parts. One is pre-Rakesh Jhunjhunwala and the second is post-Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, my meeting with him. It is that significant in life. And without mincing word, let me say that, whatever I am, I really owe it to him,
Those are big words.
Yes, all my learnings, whether it is of markets or of life, a lot of it was really influenced by him in my early formative years. It is way back, I'll just give you the incidents itself. Way back in 1998, 1999, when I used to work with Peregrine Securities. We had a block to sell in McDowell's at those days, the United States of today. And, the firm was basically in distress and they had to sell. It was some client shares. And I learned from someone that Rakesh Jhunjhunwala is a large investor.
Yeah.
And he is someone who looks at value. Before that, I didn't know him, right? So I prepared one sheet. I was a real good salesman. I prepared one full sheet and when I went to Rakesh Bhaiya that, the entire beverages market is available to you for 15 crores. You can buy 10% of this company, etc., etc. And the man he understood it. In 10 minutes, he closed the transaction. In 10 minutes, flat.
Right.
But later he asked me, who are you? I said that this is my reference, etc. And that's how the journey began. And before meeting him, stock market was a means to have livelihood for me. I always loved market and I was in the sales side. Honestly, between 91, since the time I was in the market, and 98, till the time I met him, all this research, fundamental, etc., didn't mean much to me. I pretended I know it, but actually hardly I could appreciate. So my thing was always relationship, understanding the markets, how it functions, etc., etc. But after meeting him, obviously then he explained to me, and at the next meeting which I had with him, I went with a proposal, being a typical broker, that you bought it for 10 or 15 crores. I can place it for you for 25 crores. There's this fund manager friend of mine and I'll make a report and I'll place it.
Right.
So that was his first memory and the first dialogue. लड़की अच्छी है तो ब्याने वाले बहुत मिलेंगे.
Right.
मेरी लड़की अच्छी है, मेरे को ब्याने वाला मत खोज तू. So, I don't buy shares to make 5-10 crore rupees gain like this. Right. I will keep it. I'll keep it for long term. And then he, later on explained to him what his philosophy was about research, about investing, etc. And still, mine was a tube light. Still, it took a few years for me to really start appreciating that what is he meaning. And I'm still reconciling. I don't think I'm yet there. I'm still in the process. But, I learned really a lot from him, Mahalakshmi.
Sure.
But this is about markets, also about life, the kind of person he was, the humility, how to conduct yourself, how not to really get into any kind of a controversy, how you need to be opinionated. And it is not only important in life. We said that, always, that if you don't have an opinion of your own, then you are only working on a borrowed opinion all your life.
Right.
Whether
and he used to always qualify in all his conversations that this is my...
this is my...
Correct. This is my opinion, but I have the reserve to go wrong.
Absolutely. But he always had an opinion.
Correct.
And he will always stick to his opinion, and that is something which he taught. And in the process, Mahalakshmi, now you can say from 1998, 99, I knew him, and the relationship only progressed as the time passed, and I really spent a lot of time with him in the COVID period because my home was next door.
Right.
So I was real beneficiary of the wisdom which he had, and he was one person. That's another thing which I learned from him, and I'm trying to practice. That it is such a competitive world of the stock market, wherein people really don't want to share anything with anyone.
Right.
People don't want to see progress of the other person because at some point of time, either it is a human nature or jealousy or whatever you call it. But he was one person who always, not only me, there will be people like Amal, Kalpara, Neeraj, Lasit, Ashwin, all of us who knew him, Ashish Kocholia, all of us who knew him in that era. We are basically product of his wisdom. And his beneficiary, as they call it, right?
Right. So it's always clear, Madhu, in terms of what people say about Rakesh, that, he was a mentor, he shared a lot, he was never secretive about what he did. How was his equation from here, his side, if you were to think, what did you guys mean to him? What did you mean to him? What did this relationship mean to him? And how would he make you feel? Because one of the greatness of many leaders is that every time they meet, everybody feels special. So how did he make people feel? Did you get a sense of what you meant to him?
I have a 25-year relationship with you. I'm strictly not talking in a media today. Really heart-to-heart conversation. So without mincing word again, we used to call him Bhaiya. And he really treated us as younger brothers. Took care of our interest, financial or otherwise, gave us all the right advice, even at the cost of, making sure that even if you feel bad, it didn't matter to him. He will scold, but he will make his point and he will ensure that we actually do it. So, he treated us, all of us, I would say, as real younger brothers. Right. He used to call, whenever he will speak in public, he will say that he is my friend, but he will always add in the end, he is like a family.
Right. Yeah, that is unique that almost everybody I know calls him Bhaiya in that circle. So one of the questions is that, whenever you saw Rakesh on TV or all the journalists that he has met, including me, he always came across as a very temperamental person. He could get angry within minutes. His decibel levels will just rise. So what was his mechanism, and how would he navigate that kind of temperament while keeping relationships so strong?
For Mahalakshmi, people like us who are very close to him, we would never mind his anger. It's not that he would have got so many times angry at me, really blown. If I'm late 15 minutes, he will get really angry and say, "Tu bahut bada aadmi ban gaya."
Right.
But I knew that after I will go home, he will call me and say, "Madhu, sorry yaar."
Right.
Ki, tere par zyada gussa kar diya.
Right.
So I knew that he would not mean. And I think people who knew him well, they knew that he doesn't mean. It's just the temper that he has. He will blow off, and he doesn't mean to harm you. He doesn't mean to speak ill about you. He doesn't mean to think bad about you. It's just that a temporary thing. And because he is so opinionated, he is so expressive, it comes across like that. So our relationship was fabulous. I never ever, even when he scolded at me in my early years and even later years, right, I only felt it like a younger brother. And, if my elder brother is trying to actually teach me something.
Right. So, coming back to markets, one of the ironies of...
let me just say, what I learned from him, without that, this section is not complete.
Right.
So there are few things, Mahalakshmi, that, over the last 20 years, which I picked up from Rakesh Bhaiya. One thing is that you need a broad judgment. When you are really wanting to make big money in life, you don't make big money in life by being an analyst. Unless and until you have a broad judgment of things, and unless and until you have perspective and opinion of things, you can't make big calls. And that is the real difference between someone who calls himself an analyst and someone who really calls himself an investor.
Right.
That a real good investor will have a broad judgment. Right. So let me give you one instance. It was COVID time. I called him that I like BHEL. And the price was some 22, 23 rupees. And my opening statement was that भैया बेल से भी बेल सस्ता मिल रहा है. मतलब बेल पूरी से भी बेल सस्ता मिल रहा है.
Right.
And I just did some number with him and told him that this is 22, 23 rupees. This is the market cap. But the only big thing is that there are a lot of receivable from the government, and the bail has not ever been. And this is this thing. Before I could keep the phone down, he confirmed to me I bought 2.5 crore shares. And then later on, I offered him that why don't we do a call with the CMD?
Right.
I'll get a top class analyst, etc. He said, "Kuch zarurat nahi hai."
Right.
We have to take a broad judgment of how to. So that broad judgment. Second thing, he taught was, and these are not things which are there in any books or any of his interviews, etc., etc. Second thing was about the leverage. Like, and obviously we committed that mistake in judging a lot of companies. But his thing was that, you have to be able to live. You should commit a mistake that you are able to live to make another one.
Right.
So even though he was seen as very aggressive investor, but his leverage, to my mind, would have never exceeded maybe 3-4% of his net worth. The F&O ka position alag hai, but his real leverage would have never exceeded that. And one day he gave me a full this thing. He was always 100% invested plus 3-4% leverage. But so how much to leverage? When to leverage? And his biggest skill, in my opinion, which I am still in the process, that at someday I will get it, that when do you take a disproportionate bet? Right? And when do you think the risk reward is really, really in your favor? When you can really go and, as he used to say, आज बीवी की बंगड़ी बेच के शेयर लेने का टाइम है. But he could do it. He could do it very ruthlessly, because there are a lot of micro things that he would not care whether he bought telco at 60 rupees or 80 rupees. If he sees the price is going to go to 1,000 rupees, he said, I would not even remember. Most of us still get stuck. We are looking for lots. We are looking to fine-tune the market. We are trying to be, we are trying to over-smart the market itself, right? But he had that broad thought process. I remember again one instance. Canara Bank came with a QIP, and we were all wondering how to get shares, right? And we were all looking who is the QIP person who can buy for us and sell us, etc., etc. Right. He said, क्या है, ₹2 ऊपर मिलता है ना, वो QIP वाला लेके अपने को खुद भेज देगा. Before anyone could analyze, he had already bought his shares.
Right. So what is the answer to the point that you made on when to leverage? कब वो point है कि तुम अपना घर गिरवी रखो या अपनी बीवी का?
जब disproportionate risk reward आपको दिखता है ना, and market is also in the panic, as they said, real blood on the street, and you are also But the question is, for what are you leveraging? If you are leveraging to buy a telco, or you are leveraging to buy a small mid-cap company at a really frenzied time, that is the difference. So he would know when to leverage, but more importantly, he would know what to leverage for. So if I borrowed money, at least my capital and interest should be protected. I should be able to see enough appreciation in that company over a period of time. Then I am actually not at risk. So this is a very important point. What to leverage for? And how much to leverage? And when to leverage? So when to leverage is very clear. When there is real blood on the street, and when you get, and markets, Mahalakshmi, we have seen, have been around for 30 years, right? Markets, they give you that opportunity. You don't have to work for it. You don't, see, the biggest money for most of us came because of COVID.
Correct.
We did not create COVID. In fact, we're the most scared of COVID.
Right.
Right. So market gives you an opportunity. You just have to respond to it.
Sure. So you mentioned Tata Motors, right? So Rakesh, if you look at over the years, of course, Titan has been the biggest, wealth creator for him. But he had this fascination for Tata stocks, and he made no bones about it. He always said, I, have great respect for Ratan Tata and the Tata group. So, for example, Tata Motors, Tata Steel, in all these companies, at some point in time, analysts and fund managers have raised doubts about their capital allocation policy. They've, asked questions about that. So what gave him the conviction? Was it the price that now, the market is overestimating the negatives or overlooking something? What is it that made him so confident? Because at various points in time, all these, doubts and questions were always raised. They were not like, you can just forget about for 20 years.
Yeah. We are discussing individual companies. I request you to run the necessary disclaimer.
Sure. Absolutely.
Approaching anybody, but we are not telling anyone to buy these shares.
Absolutely.
Right? Just for education purpose and discussion. So see, again, there are two things. One, he had the broad judgment about the Tata group. That this is a group which is ethical, and this is the group which is जहाँ पे कोई गड़बड़ नहीं करेंगे ये लोग, right? If the market goes up, they will not issue themselves warrants, or they will not merge one or the other company for their own gain. That broad judgment is, I would say, 80% of the work, right? Then 20% is all the risk reward. So he, whether including Tata Group, like if he was here, he would not buy telco at 700 rupees, those crores of shares which he bought, right? Because COVID gave that opportunity and the price fell to such a level, whether it is the Indian Hotel, whether it is Tata Motor, or whether it is Tata Steel, he felt that the risk reward
was disproportionate.
And that's why he took that bet, right?
Sure. And of course, we can talk a lot about stocks, but I don't want to get into that space. Tell me some of his stocks that didn't work out. Largely we know the recipe for success is huge opportunity, huge runway for growth, a fantastic promoter. So these are articulated better.
I don't think in his whole career he would have lost money, real money, in maybe more than 5 companies. Maybe one I remember. Then this used to be a company called A to Z, which was or another packaging company from Pune. So I don't think there were too many examples of that. And that is the real thing, that you took maybe bet on 1,000 companies, and if you lost your capital only on maybe 2 or 3 or 4 companies, that
didn't matter.
That should not have any discussion.
Correct. No, not a discussion. I'm just thinking that, is there, usually they say that whatever is your strength is also your weakness. So in that sense, is there anything that, for us to learn from there?
No, I don't think so. Because he was always very calculative, that, he would, even in these companies where he lost money, he would not put like his net worth behind these companies. It is marginal portion of his overall investment.
But to tell me, it's really ironical that, the person we now know as India's big bull actually started off as a bear. In 1994, he was the biggest bear on the street. In 1999, he was a big bear on the street. So what changed after that? Is it that he, reoriented himself to think more long, or is it just that he changed his approach in not talking about his shorts too much?
So I don't
because
think...
in our memory, in the last 20 years, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala has never been bearish.
But I would say, again, there are two things. Did he do short trades? I would say 100%.
Right.
Right. He did a lot of short trades. He would stay away from markets for a longish period of time whenever he didn't see an opportunity in the market. Right. So I don't think it is fair to say that he was always bullish 20 years. He was broadly bullish. But there were periods when he was bearish. But I think, again, he saw the opportunity in 1991, wherein there was a market with a really screaming sell that, based on his parameter. And I think one more time, when he would have really gone short in the market, maybe around 2007-8, when I remember I had a discussion with him, and he said that, it looks like a real euphoria. Obviously, I didn't know what trades he did and all, but at that time, again, he must have gotten real short in the market.
Sure.
So broadly, he was bullish, and of course, Mahalakshmi, he could see how India is developing, and he developed also himself. So when he came in 1991, he was also establishing his fundamentals, his principles, etc. And over a period of time, I'm sure he got more conviction. And he was wise enough to understand that, you make real disproportionate wealth in the markets by being a bull. You don't make a disproportionate wealth by being a real bear in a country like India.
Correct. True. And Madhu, have you ever accompanied him for meetings? I'm sure you have. Is he a very hard negotiator? How does he approach? Can you recall any anecdotes or memories of meetings with him or dealing with people?
I've had many occasions to have meetings with him. So I think obviously he would want a real value in the deal. But he was very, very wise. He would not leave a transaction like many of us still will leave it for 2% or 4% if he was convinced. And the deal which he will end up doing will make the other person also happy. Then you don't really squeeze out anyone in that sense, saying that, because I'm Rakesh Jhunjhunwala and I can get anything out of you and you have to sell me. I don't think that was his approach. His approach was that I certainly want value for what money which I am putting, and I am worried about the gain which I can make, but I will do a fair job in terms of negotiation. That is not to say that he will overpay, but I don't think he ever squeezed anyone.
Any examples or any personal anecdotes or meetings that you can recall?
Many of them,
So recall a couple.
We remember this conversation we had about Nazara Technologies, where he made me also invest. That, broadly we were talking, and someone made a comment that we can get it cheaper. So he said that I know that we can get it cheaper, but the opportunity is very large and I don't want to haggle. Let's just go ahead and do it and close it.
Sure. Anything else? Any other examples of personal meetings?
Just a real tribute to him, according to me, that there will be many bulls and there will be many bears. And I am sure, looking at where India is, there will be people who will make more money than Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. But I can tell you, there will be no other Rakesh Jhunjhunwala ever in India.
Sure. So tell me one point of disagreement that you ever had with him. Did you ever have disagreements with him?
There are many disagreements with him. Many times.
The worst disagreement you had with him, and how did you guys come back together?
No, I don't think we had any disagreement where there was any point that the relationship is at stake. That never happened. And as I told you, even when he shouted at me, I felt happy that he is only doing it for my good. So I don't think there was
But usually इस तरह से होते तो immediately we don't, right?
नहीं,
Even
हो
at
जाता।
home.
He'll call me.
झगड़ा कर-
He'll call, I know. He will call me or I will call him. But I don't think it ever extended beyond 2 hours or 4 hours. Ever. In 25 years. And not only with me. I don't think it would have extended with anyone who was really close to him in the close circuit. Because we knew he doesn't mean it. Right? So I thought disagreement to kabhi nahi hua. We had a lot of different opinions about markets at many times. We had a lot of different opinions on individual companies. Let's say when I took Divi's Laboratories to him, at that time he was very, very bullish on metrics. And he told me that this company will do far better than metrics. And he disagreed and he didn't buy it. But it didn't mean that I took it to my ego, that I took the company to him and why didn't he buy it? He had his point of view, but I still went ahead and bought. So, like, there will be a lot of instances that there will be, like, I would not say that there will be even 25% commonality between his portfolio and my portfolio. And what he always used to say, see, there are a lot of things, Mahalakshmi, you learn in life not because someone teaches you. It is because you are so eager that being around and just observing, you learn.
Correct.
So the thing which I learned without he telling me, that it is how to fish. You don't ask for a fish.
Correct.
You ask for how to fish. And that's the thing which he has gifted us, right? That how to look at companies. And there are points he has called me and told me that you have taken this decision. And I really don't like it. I don't like my company. But again, I reserve the right to be wrong. But again, if he says, then I will take full note of it. I'll make sure, then I'll go and explain to him. But yeah, this is what I have thought. And this is why I think my thought process might be different than yours. He said, go ahead. If you're convinced, you should do it.
Sure.
Yeah.
There is also, Ramesh was telling me that, he was this kind of friend who would say that, I don't exactly buy this story or I don't buy this investment case, but because you are putting in money, chalo main bhi laga deta hu, kyunki I have conviction in what you are saying, not as much so.
Many a time. Like I told you the story of BHL, he did not understand, he had not done any research, nothing. In 30 seconds, he bought 2.5 crore shares in BHL. And the decision he took. So likewise, he will do many things like this and vice versa. You were talking of moments. The most touching moment for me personally in professional life was Akasha Airline. And obviously hundreds and thousands of people would have called him to say that we want shares in Akasha. But possibly I was one of the few to him he actually gave.
Right.
And he told me that it's going to be very big. Consider this as my gift for you.
Right.
So vice versa, whenever he will, which will happen many a times, that he actually had a great idea, he had a deal, and he would tell that I'm investing in this. Would you like to invest?
Sure.
And sometimes even when we took any case to him, he would invest in. He would say that you should also invest.
Sure. So to summarize, your top learnings from Bhaiya.
Yeah.
And how would the one thing that you remember him for and the one thing that you miss him for?
So obviously, honestly speaking, I miss him for all the guidance and advice which I was, and nothing can replace, no one can replace that, right? So I miss him as I was looking for a word to describe my relationship with him after he passed out. And I came up with this word called master. Because guide, philosopher, is two small words, So I think he was a real master to me, and I miss him for that. But more importantly than the professional life, because all of us have done reasonably well, like in life, and we already have more than what we need. So it's not the money making any longer, but it is that human side of it which I miss him the most. That
Sure.
That I don't have anyone to now go and spend 3 hours, 4 hours. I have many friends, but no Rakesh Jhunjhunwala.
Yeah. Madhu, even after Rakesh had become rich and famous, I'm not talking about the initial years. I think even in late 2000s and all that, Rakesh used to attend conference calls, analyst calls, and he would ask questions in the calls, etc. What was his approach to, company managements? Would he be pushy? Would he ask him tough questions? Would he be more cordial, reconciliatory? Everybody has a different style. When people have big stakes in a company, like for example, Buffett was criticized a lot for, abstaining from voting when there was an executive compensation problem at Coke. And he said that boss, ghar mein problem hota hai, in as many words, that when we have problems with our investee companies, we don't go out in the public and really talk about it because it only makes matters worse. So what was his approach towards management? How would he nudge them to
I think he was
get his points
by
across?
and large friendly. I have not seen many instances in last 30 years wherein he will go and do any of this that I will vote against and I will do this, I will do that. वो डराने धमकाने का कभी उन्होंने काम नहीं किया होगा. I think his approach was friendly, but at the same time, he had an opinion of his own, which he would communicate to the management, and he would like to hear from them that yes, even if you disagree with me, I'm fine, but let us have a discussion. And wherever he disagreed, he would quietly sell his shares. If supposing the disagreement, like case in point was Aurobindo, right?
Right.
He had a large stake.
Yeah.
He disagreed and he quietly sold his shares. He tried his best to communicate whatever he wanted to communicate, but after a point of time, he sold his shares and got out. But I don't think he ever had any unpleasant conversation with the management.
Sure.
Yeah. So he had a very, very unique style. See, Mahalakshmi, the important thing is that, a lot of things which are taboo in India and also in the stock market, and he was exactly opposite of it. A lot of people who have made money, they're very shy. They're very shy of showing what they have and what they don't have. They're very shy of or like speaking about their knowledge. He was exactly opposite. Because the inherent thing is, he knew that he is using all the legitimate means to get to the end. So he was not scared at all of anyone. A lot of people I would be in a meeting, a lot of people will go and advise him, "Kya आप इतना जाके क्यों बोलते हो?" बोले मेरे को किसका डर है?
Right. No, but that is also a change that happened much later because, in the first 10, 12 years, at least I remember when I started off as a journalist in 2000 or so, I think up until 2004, 2005, he was still very reticent. His media appearances were hardly few.
But I think again, he was also, once he saw a real opportunity, maybe in 2002-03 when he wrote that article in Economic Times. Before that, I think he was also assembling his thoughts. He was also, and India also not, let's agree that India had also not taken off. The markets which we saw after the BJP government and the kind of work which happened between 1999 and 2004, and that led to a real foundation for a bull market, right, between 2004 and 2009. That is when I think maybe, I don't know, but his idea of
optimism.
India and idea of optimism really got really nurtured, And Mahalakshmi, one point which is less discussed, he as an investor, all of us know, he as a human.
Right.
So large-hearted, so helpful, always wanting to help. I think in his vicinity, whoever touched him, I remember he would even ask his driver, his servant, कि आपके घर पे कैसे है लोग? Are they okay? He go absolutely out of the way to help even them. He will find time to discuss their problem. क्या चल रहा है? तेरी बेटी कैसी है? He'll meet me, he'll ask you, how's your daughter? How's your parents? Father-in-law कैसे? So as a human, he was really exceptional, I'm saying. So brilliant, fabulous heart, always trying to give, always trying to be helpful. Apart from, obviously, he was a cutting-edge investor.
Yeah.
But I think why, in my opinion, why he really succeeded, apart from the real sharpness which he had, it is because of the kind of human he was. So all of us felt, हमको मजा आता था उनके लिए कुछ भी करने के लिए. कुछ भी कोई analysis है, कोई खबर है, कुछ भी है, कोई interpretation है. I tell you, 10 of us, he was the first call upward. You give me one person in India, even today, who will become like him. That 50 people are wanting to call him. Like, let's say, Akasha deal. He did not get the deal, right? Someone else approached him. So if you look at it, why did people go to him? Why would I go to him with all my ideas? Because of this human connect. Because of he was approachable.
Right.
Because we knew
he made himself approachable.
And we knew always that he will be nice. He will also think of me as much as he will think of himself.
Right.
He will make sure that I also have a good deal. He will also explain to me that what you should be doing in this investment. And many a case, wherever he made me buy shares or we discuss, etc. बेच मत देना. और मैं देख रहा हूँ. शेयर बाजार का रजिस्टर निकाल के तेरा नाम देखता रहूंगा कि रखा है ना. Who will do all this,
Right. Any other personal memories or anecdotes?
सब याद ही है.
Call out 2-3, your best, fondest memories with him.
So the first one was many years ago. Then he used to have an office in Merriman Point, and he called like 9 of us. There are some of the names I told you: Kalparaj, me, Amal, Nafit, Neeraj, Hiren, Ashwin, and Ashish. 9-10 of us he called, and he gave us an award. My young entrepreneurs. And he gave a speech on that day that
तो वो occasion क्या था? मतलब कोई occasion था
हमारे लिए अवार्ड करने के लिए किया था वो.
अच्छा.
It was in a terrace and हमारे को अवार्ड देने के लिए occasion किया था.
Okay.
And that day he spoke and said that I can visualize that all of these people will do exceedingly well in life. So I am giving them the award today only. So that was a very touching moment, of course, As a human, again, I'll tell you, my mother passed away 1 year back.
Yeah.
He was in the hospital, right? And he was advised not to leave the hospital because he had all the syringes and this and that. He had the risk of infection. Even honestly, I was also not expecting that he will come. But he came not only for 2 minutes. He stood there for 1 hour. He was maybe one of the first ones to come and one of the last ones to go. And later on, when I spoke, he said, is it possible that your mother has passed away and I will not come? Regardless of what the condition is, I will come. And the last one, see, of course, there are many years back. The last one is in the hospital. His birthday was there in Breach Candy Hospital. And I went to wish him. And he was, even in a hospital, he was so much full of life. He had called, food from XYZ place and this, that. It was not like obviously in a hospital room, you can't do a party. But he was like 7-8 of us sitting there. And that day, again, markets were, somewhat in a corrective mode. He shouted at me and said, cash to nahi hai na bank mein. So, lot of memories, Mahalakshmi. I think even among friends, I think I miss him really a lot. Every day. There's not one single day where I would not, miss him. I miss that call who I used to make whenever I was excited that I want to share it with someone. And I miss that guidance. But I must tell you, somewhere there, I can feel him even today. Whenever I want to take a decision, and I swear to God, I close my eyes and I know he is there to guide me.
Thank you so much, Madhu. It was absolutely a pleasure talking to you about Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, of course.
Yeah.
That's all from me here. Thank you so much.